from Ronald Reagan, certainly through both Bush presidencies, would talk to them or communicate with them via megaphones or a sound system. But Donald Trump, the first in person, not only rallying his base, but those in the Right to Life movement to say, I am here for you, I stand by you, and I will continue to pound this theme on behalf of you, that all life is sacred. Let's go to campusreform.org digital reporter Eduardo Neret, also Axios reporter Elena Treen. You know, Elena, I'm looking at this and wondering, the president wanted to make this. He has addressed these groups, these Right to Life marchers in Washington in the past, but this is the first time in person. Now, many will say it's a political risk because he could turn off just as many men and women who would like him a little bit more standoffish on this. He decided not to do that. What do you think of that?
Well, this is an issue that President Trump decided to make his issue, even on the 2016 campaign trail. I remember speaking with a ton of people from these pro-life groups, including Marjorie Danisfield. She runs SBA-less. She's there today. People of Concerned Women for America. A lot of these social conservative groups who originally, when President Trump was on the 2016 campaign trail, they weren't sure how sincere he was about being pro-life and being really anti-abortion. But in the months since and the years since during his administration, he's made a lot of action, including through executive action, to help further these pro-life stances and movements. And a lot of these groups have said, you know, we believe that this is really something that he cares about sincerely. He made this a big issue during last year's State of the Union. He's continuing to do that now, and he's going full force ahead with this pro-life stance, regardless of whether he thinks it might hurt him or help him more, really, to be a little bit more moderate on this issue. You know,
Eduardo, we're not lost on the fact that this is occurring, just literally across the street of the United States Capitol, the impeachment hearings and the trial that continues. But the president just saying, I guess, rallying his base, letting them know this impeachment thing is a farce, what I'm doing, down to the trip to Davos earlier this week, talking about the economic recovery, rallying a base for which, and for whom this is a very, very important issue. What do you make of all of it?
Well, like you said, it's a historic moment. It's not just historic for the rest of us, but it's also very courageous for President Trump to take upon this issue of pro-life very head on, and something that we've been covering a lot too, and something that President Trump made a reference to in his speech is how this affects students. How many students were out here at this march today? You know, at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform, we cover how students face difficulties on campus, organizing around pro-life clubs, pro-life groups. They face a lot of pressure from the administrations, from professors. So President Trump has said, not only to young students, but to Americans across the board, look, I'm with you, I'm leading the way on this pro-life charge, and I've got your back. And it definitely means a lot.
I'm wondering, too, when we look at Elena, what happens next. I mean, the president obviously didn't really get into impeachment that much, but his view has been it's essentially a waste of time. He wants to expedite that, and we might see it expedited. What's your sense there if this ends in less than 2 weeks?
As of now, it's looking like there is a very high likelihood that there is a vote on whether to remove President Trump from office next week. And I've been on the Hill every day covering impeachment. And not only does the president's team want to expedite this, like you said, as quickly as possible, they're looking at using only a portion of the 24 hours that they're given to defend him. But also, there's been a lot of, jockeying behind the scenes with Majority Leader Mitch McConnell trying to make sure that Senate Republicans stay in line and do not vote for witnesses or new documents that could extend this further than a lot of people think is necessary.
Eduardo, if you don't mind, I would get back very quickly to the importance and the historic nature, regardless of your views on the abortion movement, for a president to do what this one did, to say what this one said. I get the fact that, he's going back to his base, he's saying this to his base, but he seems to also be saying it's worth the risk and to rally the religious right, to rally the pro-life community, and remind them as well that when it comes to general media coverage, this sort of thing will get zilch. A women's protest march will get a lot more. What do you think he is signaling?
Well, you're exactly right. In years past, these March for Lives have not been covered to the degree that they would be covered if President Trump was speaking at them like he did today. But I think the signal here, why the mainstream media doesn't cover the pro-life movement, is simply because they're not on board. Just the way they're not on board on university campuses, just like they're not on board in democratic areas of establishment. And so President Trump understands his power. He understands his role as president, but he also understands that wherever he goes, wherever he speaks, there are cameras that are going to be there. So he can essentially shed light on whatever issue he wants, and the media is going to be there. That's what he did today, and I think it's going to be very important going into 2020.
All right, guys, I want to thank you both very, very much. Again, just passing it along, too, when it comes to the media.